Hey y'all, how you doing? This is Bryce. I'm a researcher here at the South Carolina Policy Council, and we are launching a new video series where we take our research breaking down important bills, different things happening at the State House and around the state, and we are going to be putting that into video content going forward. This is going to be in addition to our written research that we've always published, but we think this is a great opportunity to go a little bit more in depth on some of these issues. So, with that said, the first thing that we're going to be talking about is what is happening with state-owned utility Santee Cooper. So if you've been following the news at all lately, you may know that lawmakers have been trying to reach an agreement on a Santee Cooper bill. Basically, this is a bill designed to reform Santee Cooper, but in addition to that, the House version actually contains the option to sell Santee Cooper, whereas the Senate version is just strictly a reform bill. And so, of course, the big question has been, can they reach an agreement, and are they actually going to try to sell Santee Cooper like they said they would, or are they going to go in the opposite direction, keep it as a state agency, and put it further under state control? Well, if you followed along with the committee meeting that they had on Wednesday, it is abundantly clear that lawmakers are not serious about selling Santee Cooper. Basically, they spent all meeting talking about the different reforms that they want to make with no real discussion of actually selling it. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to go through some of those proposed changes and break down the areas where a lot of them really do fall short. Oh, and before we get started, I just want to say this isn't a complete list of everything they want to do. It's just touching on some of the most important things. And we may see small changes to these as lawmakers iron out the differences in conference committee. Okay, so one of the things that they want to do is anytime in the future that Santee Cooper wants to issue debt, it would have to be approved by the Joint Bond Review Committee, which is basically a debt oversight board. It does this job for other state agencies, however, not currently for Santee Cooper. But the problem with this is future debt for Santee Cooper is not so much the issue, right? Because they already owe billions in dollars of debt. And so, putting a check on how much they can borrow in the future isn't actually going to address what they currently owe. And secondly, this really just gives lawmakers more power, right? The Joint Bond Review Committee, all 10 of its members are all lawmakers. And so in the future, if lawmakers were to ever actually sell Santee Cooper, you have to wonder if giving them more power over the utility rather is actually going to make them less likely to want to give it up. Another change would be that anytime Santee Cooper wants to raise its rates, it'd have to give its customers at least 6 months notice, tell them the time, date, and location of different public meetings, and they'd have to inform the Office of Regulatory Staff, which is an agency basically that oversees utilities, who would get to review Santee Cooper's proposed rate increase. Note that it says review and not approve because, as you can see here, Santee Cooper is subject to a legal covenant which basically says the state, including the IRS, can't keep it from charging the rates that it needs to pay for its expenses, operate its facilities, and pay its debt. In other words, there's nothing that lawmakers can do in this bill to actually keep Santee Cooper from increasing its rates when it needs to. And so while there's certainly nothing wrong with giving customers more notice when their power company wants to raise its rates, it's unclear what customers will be able to do or say to Santee Cooper when it has to charge whatever it needs to pay back the billions in debt that it owes. And so finally, we need to talk about this last section, which would have the legislative budget writing committees be responsible for providing oversight of Santee Cooper. Basically, Santee Cooper would have to hand over a number of financial documents to these committees who would ostensibly be responsible for reviewing them and determining whether or not Santee Cooper is actually doing its job. But my question here is, why are we asking lawmakers to do this job, right? The budget writing committees are responsible for producing a state budget, not providing oversight of the state's public utility. We shouldn't be giving them any more responsibilities that distract from what they're actually supposed to be doing. And more importantly, we already have a Santee Cooper advisory board that exists in the law, and it is perfectly equipped to do this job. First of all, if you look at the people that sit on this board, the governor, the attorney general, the state treasurer, the comptroller general, and the secretary of state, those are all positions that are elected statewide, which means they represent everyone who lives in South Carolina, unlike a legislative committee where, unless you live in a district of a lawmaker on that committee, they don't actually represent you. And secondly, they're already really supposed to be doing this job, right? Santee Cooper's board of directors is supposed to be giving annual reports every year to this advisory board. They're also supposed to be giving them financial statements and full information on what the utility is doing. The advisory board even selects the accountant which is supposed to audit Santee Cooper every year. So all that to say, if lawmakers are actually interested in making Santee Cooper more fiscally accountable, we already have a board that is perfectly positioned to do that, and they shouldn't go the route of just giving themselves more power over Santee Cooper. And so, again, to recap, these are just some of the changes that lawmakers are considering for Santee Cooper, but I do think that they were important to talk about. So if you've made it this far, first of all, thank you for watching. We are definitely excited to do more video content like this in the future. I should say that there is another conference committee meeting on Tuesday, and we will probably be following that and may update what they're doing as it happens. So thank you for watching, and take care.